Welcome back, folks, to WrestleRant. I am Graham G.S. Matthews, and right here on WrestleRant, I break down all the pay-per-views that I watch on the WWE Network. All January long, we've been breaking down every installment in Royal Rumble history as seen on the network, and today we wrap it all up before Royal Rumble tonight with my review of the Royal Rumble 2015. Of course, last year's installment, controversial, very infamous for the ending of Roman Reigns winning, but before we even get to that, the undercard, the opening match between the Ascension and the New Age Outlaws. This was set up on the Raw before the show, on the Raw before the pay-per-view at Raw Reunion, when the New Age Outlaws made a return along with the NWO and the APA, knocking out the Ascension, who had been undefeated in tag team competition since arriving on the main roster in late December on the final Raw of 2014. And that was pretty much it. That was really the only build that this match had. The match itself wasn't phenomenal. It was a fine match. It was a good tag team match. I mean, by this point, people had already really soured on the Ascension because they had come off as Legion of Doom ripoffs, and their mic skills were awful. And I agree, their mic skills were not good at all, but I definitely thought they had potential. I was excited to see them come to Raw. They had really overstayed their welcome over in NXT. They were a good tag team. They could have decent matches. I mean, they didn't really face many solid tag teams over in NXT. They mostly faced just enhancement talent. So when they finally dropped the belts after a year in NXT, I was ecstatic. But moving up to Raw was something new. It was a breath of fresh air in the tag team division. They really didn't do much. Before this, they had only beaten enhancement talent on Raw and SmackDown. So the New Age Outlaws were their really first threats since coming to Raw. And like I said, a fine match. The Ascension, you can't really get a great match out of them. I can only really count maybe one or two, maybe three matches that I was interested that involved them in the last 2-3 years, including both the main roster and NXT. But the New Age Outlaws did what they set out to do in putting over the Ascension in a fine match. They gave them the rub, they gave them the win in clean fashion too. But the worst part about this is that the win would go to waste. The Ascension lost their first match no more than 2-3 weeks later to the reuniting Primetime Players, which was fine. But the follow-up was awful. They never did anything with a feud. The feud really went nowhere, and neither team was a part of WrestleMania. And remember, at WrestleMania 31, they had that Fatal 4-Way Multi-Team Tag Team title match on the pre-show, and neither the Primetime Players or the Ascension were a part of it. We had the New Day and the fucking Los Matadores, and by that point, the New Day sucked. They were awful as baby faces. So it made no sense. Instead of putting two teams that were actually feuding at that time, they put in the New Day and the Matadors, which was terrible. But that was that. The match was all right. A good win for the Ascension, but like I said, it would really go to waste in the weeks that followed. After that, for the WWE Tag Team titles, the Usos defending against The Miz and Damian Mizdow in a rematch from, again, the final Raw of 2014, when the Usos beat Miz and Mizdow to win back and to win their second WWE Tag Team titles. So by this point, the Ascension was already within the ranks between Miz and Mizdow. People had been getting behind Mizdow for months, and WWE really started planting those seeds of dissension between the two by having Mizdow say, "Oh, I'm going to win the Rumble," and Miz saying, "No, you mean I'm going to win the Rumble," blah, blah, blah. You would see that throughout this pay-per-view when everyone cut their promos on why they thought they would win the Rumble and so on and so forth. But it was already obvious by this point that they were going to do this split between the two. I thought they would do it at the Rumble, leading to a match at WrestleMania. Ultimately, I mean, they would get further towards a split on this show, both in this match and in later on in the night when Miz, I believe, got pinned here, and then Mizdow entered the Rumble. I'll get to the Rumble match when I get to it, but they did, show some signs of dissension in that match as well, and then they would both enter the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal at WrestleMania. Mizdow would eliminate Miz. Mizdow would get eliminated by The Big Show, which was a colossal mistake, and he hasn't been relevant since. But anyway, this match was pretty good, a lot better than I thought it would be. Considering their final Raw match, the match in the final Raw of 2014 was good. A couple near falls, which was pretty nice. For an undercard match, this really wasn't anything too special. The entire show was not, there was not a single one-on-one match in the entire show. The first time, I believe, since WrestleMania 2000, if you don't count that one-on-one match, the Playboy match, or the pillow fight match, or whatever the hell it was at WrestleMania 2000 between the women. It was still technically a specialty match, no standard singles matches. This show was no different. But anyway, this tag team title match was pretty good. I mean, they had one of the Usos kick out of the skull crushing finale from The Miz, Damien Mizdow comes in, he tags in, hits a skull-crushing finale on that same Uso. He kicks out as well. So kind of a cool little near fall with the Usos coming close to losing the tag team titles, so a couple near falls down the stretch. The crowd was engaged in the action. The ending outcome was really kind of predictable with the Usos retaining, but the important thing here was furthering the story between Miz and Mizdow that would culminate at WrestleMania. After that, another tag team match, like I said, for the women between the Bella Twins and Paige and Natalya. Paige had already been feuding with the Bella Twins for a while over the Divas Championship. Natalya got involved. She beat Nikki on an episode of Raw, and Paige came to her aid, turning babyface again for no reason. It was an alright match. There really wasn't anything wrong with the match. You got a couple good workers in here. No noticeable botches. It just didn't really do anything for me in particular because there was really no story here. They just kind of threw them together in a tag team match. Which the same can be said for Ascension and the New Age Outlaws, but at least you had an overact in the New Age Outlaws involved in that match, the same event where they won the tag team titles 1 year prior. With these two teams, Nikki Bella, I think one of them was battling an injury at this time. I think it was Nikki. She was hurt at this period in time, so she couldn't do a singles match at the Royal Rumble, which is why they did the tag team match. But at the very least, if the Bella Twins were going to win, they might as well have just put the belt on the line and said whoever pins one of the Bella Twins gets the belt. You know what I mean? Instead of having it just be a regular tag team match so no one gave two shits about. Again, it wasn't a bad match. The crowd kind of, showed some signs of hijacking it, ever so slightly by doing the Sami Zayn chant, the Olay chant, whatever. But other than that, it was a fine match. I just didn't really get why the Bella Twins won, considering I think Paige got a title match the next month anyway at Fastlane, and if Nikki was hurt, they didn't have to have her win. They could have just had Paige come in and pin Brie Bella and kind of building momentum to a title match in the next pay-per-view. So that was a little weird, but the match was what it was. And then we get to the best match in WWE in all of 2015, with the exception of NXT. I'm not counting NXT here. The best WWE match in 2015. The triple threat match for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Brock Lesnar defending against Seth Rollins and John Cena. Just an amazing showcase of pure athleticism, pure wrestling, and pure excitement from all three of these guys. Bell to bell, just amazing action. I had not seen this match back. I had not watched it back. I did watch the first few minutes of Raw the next night after the Rumble when it was snowed out in Hartford. And it was just like that recap show, and they showed the Rumble match and the title match in their entirety again. I didn't watch them again. So I turned it off, and I wouldn't watch the Rumble in its entirety until watching this pay-per-view back. And I had not seen the title match back either. So it wouldn't be until November when I was over John's house, we watched together again, and I was reminded how amazing this match was. I mean, I already knew how amazing it was, but watching it back was just a thrill, and then watching it back again when watching this pay-per-view over the past week was also incredible. Again, like I said, not a dull moment from bell to bell. Just from the get-go, these guys destroying each other. I don't think it took long at all for Brock Lesnar to lay John Cena out with a German suplex. Cena hits the AAN Brock Lesnar. He went for three in a row at one point. Hits one, Lesnar gets back up. Hits two, Lesnar gets back up. Hits three, Lesnar stays down, and he kicks out anyway, but Rollins took Cena off of Lesnar, so he didn't get the pin. So that was incredible. Brock Lesnar laying out J&J security at several points, but including when he did a double German suplex to both of them, and then when John Cena had a double attitude adjustment on both of them as well. And not the double AA that he's done in the past where he has both men on his shoulders, and then he does one, and then he does the other. He did it both at the same time. So whoever was on the bottom of that double AA really got squashed by the other one when they came down. So that was a pretty incredible sight. And then, of course, Rollins with the move of the match, jumping off the top rope with an amazing high-flying elbow from the top rope, crashing through the commentary table on top of Brock Lesnar, and kayfabe and storyline breaking his ribs, taking him out of the equation for the time being. And in the meantime, Cena hits an AA on Rollins, and he kicks out at two. I thought Cena had the belt one there. Rollins follows it up with a curb stomp. He kicks out there as well. And this would kind of give us a preview of what to expect. I mean, Cena and Rollins had already worked well together in the past, but they would have that real one-on-one rivalry going into SummerSlam, of course, over the US and WWE titles. So we kind of got a sneak peek of that feud, of that match in Brooklyn many months later in this matchup, in this triple threat also involving Lesnar. So those two going back and forth, and before you know it, Lesnar is back in, destroying everyone once again. He takes out John Cena. Rollins capitalizes, hits him with the briefcase not once but twice. Lesnar finally goes down. He looks to plant him with a curb stomp on top of the briefcase, but in running across the ropes, he goes for the curb stomp. Lesnar gets back up in time, hits him with the F5 out of nowhere to secure the win and retain his WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Just one of the most fantastic finishes I have ever seen. I just remember watching this match. My voice is hoarse now, but watching this match, I went nuts, and I probably lost my voice then too. It was a great fucking match that really set the stage for the entirety of 2015, and ultimately, in my opinion, nothing would match it, with the exception of, Bayley and Banks from NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. WWE-wise, on the main roster, no match came close to beating this match. Maybe a few matches between Cena and Owens, which I thought came very, very close to being the match of the year, my favorite matches of the year, but this was the WWE match of the year. It was amazing, just absolutely amazing from bell to bell. And the best part about it was that the build was actually pretty good, if only because by this point it was still pretty well known that Lesnar was leaving after WrestleMania. And then before that, it was just supposed to be Cena and Lesnar at the Rumble again. And I was like, oh, really? You couldn't have done Orton or somebody else versus Lesnar at the Rumble because we've already seen Cena and Lesnar a million times over. Thankfully, a couple weeks out, they added Seth Rollins. In storyline, it's like, oh, well, the guy already has the briefcase, but what made it intriguing was that if he lost this match, he could always cash in afterwards, which I thought he would do, and I'm like, oh, shit, they're going to take the belt off Lesnar. And a lot of people, myself included, were complaining about Lesnar being champion for many, many months, and then not having a real reign with the championship and whatever, because he was never on TV. But I really thought, by that point, when they had the championship on him, you got to keep the belt on. You can't fuck him over now, and you can't just take the title off of him only 4 months in. You got to go all in and have him hold the belt until WrestleMania. Thankfully, they made the right call. They had him hold on to the title. But adding Rollins into this match was the best thing they could have done. We already had Cena and Lesnar at Extreme Rules 2012, which was incredible, don't get me wrong, but in the rematch at SummerSlam was a completely different beast, which was great, something new and fresh and whatever, when Lesnar dominated Cena for 8 minutes or 9 minutes or whatever the hell it was. And then at Night of Champions, they had another match, their third match, which was pretty good. I don't know if I would call it one of the best matches of the year by any stretch of 2014, but it was still a good effort, and it ended in a DQ. I'm thinking, okay, maybe we can blow it up inside. Maybe you can blow it off inside Hell in a Cell, which they would not do, which was kind of annoying. And they waited until the Rumble. So adding Rollins in was the best thing they could have done because it really made this match the best match of 2016, or rather 2015, in my opinion. The effort these guys put forward was just tremendous. So amazing match, absolutely. Do I even need to say it? By far, far and away the best match in the entire show. So. If there's any one match, I know we're not even close to being done with the review yet because they still have to talk about the Rumble, but if there's any one match from the show that you have to watch, it's a triple threat. So we get to the 2015 Royal Rumble match. And I know I said in my 2014 Rumble review of the Royal Rumble in 2014 that the Rumble match, I'm all tongue twisted here, the Rumble match that year in 2014 was not good. There weren't many stories. Just a lot of lazy booking. Not putting Daniel Bryan in at all was asinine. They made a lot of dumb decisions with these guys at the Royal Rumble in 2014. 2015, I thought, was an improvement. I know it still gets shat on a lot because it was not a good match. But if anything, the first 15, 20 minutes, maybe the first third of it was great up until Daniel Bryan's elimination. Now, I'm not saying because of Daniel Bryan, because he got eliminated, that the match was awful. But the way it was structured, had he got taken out later on or survived until the final four at least, maybe the crowd wouldn't have shit on it the way they did had he, not gotten eliminated so easily by Bray Wyatt. Not even halfway through the match. He didn't last very long at all. He came in at number 10 and he was gone maybe 5 or 6, 7 minutes late, 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes later. He did a tope through the ropes to Bray Wyatt, and then he was gone mere minutes after that by Bray Wyatt when he got taken out of the ring. So that was pretty much it. But before the elimination of Daniel Bryan, though, the match was actually pretty entertaining. They had a very good back and forth between a lot of good action here, a lot of good mini surprises. Miz and Truth kicking off the Rumble was not exhilarating, so to speak. But number 3 returning, Bubba Ray Dudley. As I said in my video blog just recently, one of my top 5 favorite Rumble returns ever. It was amazing. It was kind of rumored going into the show, and I figured, in Philly, they have to come back, or at least one of them has to come back. I had been so happy, all weekend long, thinking of a scenario where either of them could come back. and Bubba Ray did in number 3, I just lost my fucking shit. And I still watch it back to this day, and I still get goosebumps because the surprise was great. The nostalgia of it was awesome. I mean, he's back now, which is even better, under a full-time contract. But the return was awesome. And we had a little Wyatt family reunion. This was before they would officially reunite later on in the year, but this was when all 3 guys had gone their separate ways. So we had a little mini reunion between Bray Wyatt, Luke Harper, and Eric Rowan, which was great, and Axelmania getting eliminated, Curtis Axel getting eliminated, which would later lead to Axelmania, which was entertaining while it lasted. So that was great. The Boogeyman came out at number 7 and confronted Bray Wyatt, which was not a dream match, but it was a cool little confrontation, albeit brief. And then later on, we got Diamond Dallas Page making a surprise return, too. So we had Zack Ryder also making a comeback, which was nice. I mean, not what everyone was looking forward to, but as a broski, myself, and a Zack Ryder fan myself, I thought it was cool to see Zack Ryder back and get a nice little showing against Bray Wyatt. But DDP being back and him getting a nice little run for himself, hitting not 1, not 2, but 3 diamond cutters on Stardust, Bray Wyatt, and Fandango off the top rope was amazing. So cool. But everything, like I said, everything after the Bryan elimination just really went to shit. The only real people they cheered, I mean, it didn't help that for a stretch of time they only had real losers in the match. They had Big E and Kofi, who weren't losers, but people didn't give a shit about their babyface gimmick. You had Adam Rose in there. You had Goldust come out. No one gave a shit about him. Swagger, Kane, Titus O'Neil. Like, no one gave a crap about any of those guys. So, of course, the crowd was going to turn on it. As soon as Roman Reigns came out after Daniel Bryan was eliminated, they just completely turned on the match there. They just started shitting on him as well, so that didn't help. But anyway, from that point forward, there really wasn't much of note because the crowd just booed the entire match. The whole 2/3 of the latter 2/3 of the match, the final half of it or so, the crowd just completely turned on it. There was not many saving graces at all. Kofi Kingston had a cool little, avoiding elimination once again for the 4th straight year by jumping on the Rosebuds, which was cool, but not as creative as his past, attempts to avoid elimination. And then beyond that, people popped for Dean Ambrose and Dolph Ziggler, but they didn't really last too long. They got taken out by Big Show and Kane, which was the worst thing they could have done. By far the worst thing that these guys could have done was have them double team all the fan favorites, all the IWC guys that the people were rallying behind to win this Rumble after Daniel Bryan, in the wake of Daniel Bryan's elimination, and just plow through all of them, just taken out like a fucking stack of bricks. Just like it was nothing, like he was a doll. They tossed Dolph Ziggler over the top rope. Bray Wyatt, Ryback, Dean Ambrose, all the people that fans wanted to see win the Rumble were taken out with ease by Big Show and Kane. People, 2 superstars that did not at all need the rub whatsoever. I know they were the lead members of the Authority at that time, but no one gave a shit at all. It was a complete waste. And then when Roman Reigns tried to battle back, they shat on that too. There was a lot of "We want Rusev" chants because he wasn't officially taken out. When he came back in, Roman Reigns tossed him out too. Rocky came out to a big pop. It had been rumored for a while that he might be in the city in the area for the event, and he ultimately made an appearance, which the crowd popped for initially. But when it became, when it looked like he was gonna help out Roman Reigns, then it became a waste, and people started turning on that too, and they booed when Rocky, endorsed Roman Reigns and he hugged him and whatever. It just felt completely ingenuine. Because granted, they are cousins in real life, but the last time we saw them together was at the Royal Rumble 2 years earlier, exactly, when Roman Reigns and the rest of the Shield attacked The Rock and helped CM Punk retain his WWE Championship for, a couple minutes before they restarted the match. But you know what I mean. The last time we had seen these two together was Roman Reigns attacking him. So why in storyline would 2 years later he be helping him out? Despite being cousins. They were cousins back then too. Didn't make any sense. And of course, it was an obvious attempt from WWE for damage control. That's exactly what The Rock was, because he wasn't a part of the road to WrestleMania. He came back at WrestleMania, but it had nothing to do with Roman Reigns. He was in that segment with Triple H, so he wasn't back for Roman Reigns or Brock Lesnar or whoever. He wasn't really back for any of that at all. He was just there to help out Roman Reigns and help get him over, which did not work. People felt like they were shoving him down their throat, so they turned on him even more. So it was a total waste. The way they booked this Rumble was not good. From Daniel Bryan's elimination onward, it was awful. The crowd just completely turned on it. It was dead. They didn't care. The finish was not good with Big Show and Kane and, those guys being among the final few eliminated, which was just total bullshit. And then Rusev coming back in was a nice little swerve, but Roman Reigns won anyway. It worked out for the better, because after Roman Reigns won, they didn't acknowledge that the crowd turned on him or that they booed him or whatever. They never acknowledge that stuff. When it fits their narrative, when it fits what they're trying to do, then they'll start acknowledging it. Like when he won the championship in Philly, that same city, many months later, almost a year later in December, when he won the championship on Raw the night after TLC in that same city, then they started acknowledging, oh, you were booed at the Rumble, but you'll be cheered tonight when you win the championship, So they didn't acknowledge it back then when he won the Rumble initially, because they wanted to make people believe that he was still over, that people still liked him, but they didn't, because they felt like he was being shoved down their throat, and that Daniel Bryan didn't really get a fair shake in any of this. But yeah, don't watch the Rumble match. I would watch, if anything, the first 15, 20 minutes. Like I said, I thought it was really, really good up until Daniel Bryan's elimination. The surprise returns of Ryder, of Bubba Ray Dudley, especially Diamond Dallas Page, and the Boogeyman were great. The rest of the match was all right, and that was pretty much it. Damien Miz down Miz had a little brief altercation, which didn't last long at all. But I was glad they furthered that feud, because Miz got taken out. He was the first one thrown down to the Rumble. So by that point, Mizdow wasn't even in the ring. They couldn't have Mizdow eliminate The Miz, and they would save that for WrestleMania, of course. But they didn't really do much with that. They did a little, but not as much as they probably should have. But yeah, the rest of the Rumble was not good at all. Very poorly booked, and one can only hope that tonight's installment will be better, and that WWE will learn from their mistakes from the past, not 1, but 2 years, 2014 and 2015. I mean, I said the same thing last year, and they didn't learn from their mistakes in in 2014. So who knows what we're in store for tonight. But I'm extremely excited. It's going to be a great show. Warrior Rumble has always been, as I'm sure as it has been for many of you, one of my favorite pay-per-views ever. It was 6 years ago, not to the day, but 6 years ago on Rumble Sunday, that I bought my very first WWE pay-per-view, the Royal Rumble 2010. Still to this day, one of my favorite pay-per-views ever. Great Rumble match, great show on the whole. And I look forward to tonight and all the twists, turns, and surprises that WWE might have in store. So once again, guys, thank you for tuning in all of December and January long for my full reviews of the Royal Rumble right here on WrestleRant from 1988 to 2015. If you missed one, go back and check it out before the Rumble tonight. All the reviews are up here on the channel, even the ones I didn't cover these past 2 months. All the ones like, oh, where is your 2011 review? Where's your 1996 review? Where's your review of the 2005 Royal Rumble? They're all up from last year. I covered a whole bunch. All the ones I didn't cover this year I covered last year. So that's probably why. That explains why. Excuse me. Well, if you've been watching along with the series and you've noticed, oh, that one hasn't been uploaded or whatever, or I skipped a few years, that's because I talked about them last year. I'm not going to do another review, so check those out on WrestleRant from last year and this year as well. And that's about it, guys. Be sure to follow me on the Twitter at WrestleRant. Find me on Facebook. Give the page an all thumbs up at facebook.com/graham.gsm.matthews. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. All support is greatly appreciated. Enjoy the Rumble tonight. I'm very much looking forward to it. Hopefully WWE delivers as the road to WrestleMania 32 gets underway. So until next time, guys. Oh, and by the way, starting on Tuesday, I believe it's on Tuesday, but I don't know if it's Tuesday or next week or whatever, but my next pay-per-views that I will be covering are, drumroll please, No Way Out. All the No Way Out pay-per-views. I forgot when they started, but 98, 2000, whatever. Up until the 2012 installment. I mean, technically it ended in 09, but I'll be covering the 2012 installment as well. So I'll be doing those in February. Maybe some chamber pay-per-views too. I forgot exactly what I'll be covering, but I have the whole lineup, written out and scheduled through the next 6 or 7 months. I already have it all scheduled and what I'll be watching and reviewing over, through the summer, I think at the very least. So be on the lookout for that. A lot of great things coming, big things popping, little things stopping here on WrestleRant throughout all of 2016. Once again, guys, have a great rest of your weekend. Enjoy the Rumble tonight. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch you folks down the road.